Come on, man. Come on. Come on, Tony. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on. Get up, Tony. Get that weakness out. Get that weakness out. Come on, back up, man. Back up. No hands. Ain't no game, motherfuckers. Ain't no game.
Oh, Tony Ferguson, David Goggins. What do we think about it? Let me know your thoughts. I'm going to give you mine. And before we start with this, I just want to say that this is all coming with genuine love for Tony Ferguson, and not just Tony Ferguson. Look, I don't know how you can be a fan of this sport and not be a fan of Tony Ferguson. Everything that he's done, the heart that he's shown, he is the fight in the fighter. He keeps going. So not just love for Tony Ferguson, but also love for David Goggins. I really like David Goggins' work. I have read his books, listened to his audiobook many times in the gym, many times when it's just me alone at work and I have to demolish something and it's a 40-degree day and just the week is kicking my ass. I have a lot of respect for both of these men. So you would think that seeing them together, I would be hyped. I am not hyped. I do not like this mix. I'm going to go through my reasons why. I want to hear your reasons why too, because this is a very controversial mix going into Tony's next fight, isn't it? So before we get into it, if you've been enjoying this content, maybe you're new here, why don't you go ahead and click on the subscribe button. You already clicked the subscribe video. Give yourself like a week-long free trial with it. See how you enjoy my content popping up on your screen. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, you can always click unsubscribe. It's all good. You guys have yourselves a good day. Not everyone has to vibe with everyone. Tony Ferguson, David Goggins, this is why we're here. Now, David Goggins is a cardio and endurance trainer, more a mental toughness trainer, but definitely a cardio and endurance trainer. I showed you a little clip there of Tony Ferguson just vomiting his guts up from doing cardio. God knows what else they were doing before that. Who's going to carry the boats? Probably did 1,000 deadlifts with a tree log or something. Goggins is an endurance athlete as well as a mental coach. Now, how long have we been following MMA? It's good to hear your feedback here, guys. If you've been following MMA for a hot minute, you know Tony Ferguson's problem isn't his cardio. It's never been his cardio. In fact, he's been renowned as having the cardio, like some of the best cardio up there with, I don't know, Merab Dvalishvili, Colby Covington. Tony can go and go and go. So why do we need this David Goggins training? Then, of course, there's the endurance or mental toughness of it. Now, Tony Ferguson is mentally unstable, but he is mentally tough. I think if you're going to live in Tony Ferguson's mentally unstable mind, you need to be mentally tough. But has mental toughness ever been Tony Ferguson's issue? I mean, just on his run of losses, look at the beating he took from Justin Gaethje. Did we think for a second that Tony was going to quit in that fight when blood was pouring out of him and splashing on the desk, landing there on DC and John Anik? Did we think that Tony was going to quit in that fight? No, he never did. What about the armbar against Charles Oliveira? I was convinced Tony's arm was going to snap. And did Tony quit or tap or even think about stopping that fight at any point? No, he didn't. He went out cold to Bobby Green and started shaking like it was like death. He started shaking like his soul was leaving his body against Bobby Green. Tony Ferguson has no quit in him. So why do we need Tony Ferguson at 39 years old training with David Goggins to get himself more cardio, which he already has enough of, and more mental toughness? The only thing that I can see going into this with David Goggins, the only thing that I can see coming out of this with David Goggins is injuries. A lot of nagging injuries, shin splints, inflammation, sprained ankles, sprained wrists. There's just going to be damage coming out of this from David Goggins' idea of recovery is a 6-hour sleep. Tony Ferguson is 39 years old, and look at the videos of him training. He looks a lot older than 39 years old, to be frank. Unfortunately, and again, I love Tony Ferguson, but the man is wearing his age. His body looks like he is around 50. And David Goggins is going to push him and push him and push him until the point where Tony breaks. That's what David Goggins is there for, to push you until you break and then to push you past that. Tony Ferguson's fight against Paddy Pimblett is in 5 weeks. In 5 weeks. These injuries that he's going to sustain, he has to heal up from them and do the weight cut and then be ready to go. Be ready to go after that. So let's say that they trained 2 weeks ago, a week ago. That's 2 weeks of recovery. That puts him 3 weeks from the fight. He's got to do his weight cut and then he has to rehydrate. Then he has to stand in there with Paddy Pimblett. Now, here's the thing. How's it going to go against Paddy Pimblett? Tony Ferguson has always been an amazing fighter because he is such a creative striker. He hits you from weird, different angles and he keeps pushing. But the thing is, as Tony has aged, his speed has not kept up with his creativity and it's allowed people to find openings on him. Have you guys noticed how Tony Ferguson always looks so good in the first round of all of his fights? He always looks great in his first round and we all start to believe like, oh, is this it again? And then slowly his opponents just get the better of him and start to pick him apart. I believe that is because Tony is too old for his body to keep up with his mind. His body just starts to slow down. And when you're throwing shots from creative, different angles, when you're doing it quickly, the opponent is shocked, doesn't understand, bang, they get hit. When you start to do that in the second and third round, slowly, all you're doing is giving your opponent openings. The way that Tony does his spinning reverse elbows, spinning back elbows, just leaves his back open for about 3 or 4 seconds and allows the opponent to swing a counter. And that is what has been slowly beating Tony. So is Tony destroying himself with David Goggins going to help his speed or hinder it? I think it's going to hinder it. I don't think this is going to help Tony at all. And then what we're going to have is just a battle of Tony Ferguson's chin versus Paddy Pimblett's fast hands, openings, and also Paddy Pimblett's chin. Paddy Pimblett can get hit. Are we going to have a chin-off between a 39-year-old Tony Ferguson and a young Paddy Pimblett? Not young, Paddy Pimblett's 30, 31, something like that. But are we going to have a chin-off between the two of them? We know Paddy can get hit. We know Paddy has got good ground game. We know Paddy has got decent enough hands. I mean, he can survive on one leg against Jared Gordon. I don't feel like he won it, but he could survive against Jared Gordon off one leg, using his hands. Paddy is a dangerous opponent for Tony Ferguson. Personally, I want to see Tony Ferguson sleep Paddy Pimblett. I want to see that. I don't think beating yourself up with David Goggins 5 weeks out is going to help that, Tony, and it hurts me. Your career lately is hurting me. I don't want to see you go in there and flop around like a dead fish in the arms of Bobby Green. Please, Tony, retire, please. I'm begging you. Just my thoughts on this David Goggins, Tony Ferguson camp that we're going into. I don't like it. I don't like it, which sucks because I love both these men. It's like 2 of my favorite artists releasing a mixed album together and the album sucks. It's not fun. What do you think about this? Let me know down in the comments. Do you think this is going to help Tony? Am I way off on this? Give me some feedback on it. If you guys have been enjoying these videos, just go ahead and do one more tap. You're going to tap onto the next video anyway. It's not like you're just going to bed right now. Do one more tap, hit that subscribe button for me, and I'll see you all in the next one.